Aspire is an important name in Qatar. It's connected to the Aspire Academy, which was set up many years ago to try to foster stronger domestic performances, domestic development in sport in this nation, and also education too. It's been particularly useful to the national football team of Qatar, bringing a lot of young athletes through, allowing them to have opportunities to train and play overseas in countries like Spain, in the lower leagues there. And indeed, Qatar have had real success, winning a couple of AFC Asian Cups. And the most recent Asian Cup of football was held in this country in January and February of last year, and this whole area, Al Rayyan, was used for a lot of the matches. So that's where the name Aspire fits in, and its role in wider Qatari sporting culture. Let's go back to our focus now, the men's parallel bars final, and here are the gentlemen who've made it into the top 8. Congratulations to them and good fortune to them as they take to the parallel bars. There is the top man in the qualification round. He'll be the first to go. Jessie Moore of Australia, the reigning Oceania all-around champion and top qualifier. Great young gymnast. Competing shortly after his brother Luca in the vault final, Matteo Giubellini of Switzerland, third best in qualifying. Yehor Perepolkin of Ukraine, the 8th best in qualifying. Sam Mustalfi of Great Britain, 5th best in the preliminary round. One of the most experienced gymnasts in the world, James Hall of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, 7th best in qualifying. Might see a new skill from him. Nazar Cheperny of Ukraine, 2nd best in qualification. Altan Doğan of Turkey, 4th best in qualifying. And Kevin George Buckley of Slovenia, the 6th best in the preliminary round. We're in for an intriguing men's parallel bars final now. Top in qualifying was Jessie Moore with 13.933, and he will open this final. 2nd best was Nazar Cheperny, the Ukrainian, scoring only a fraction lower than Jessie Moore, 13.9 to that 13.333. The finalists in the men's parallel bars competition at the World Cup in Doha. Top qualifier, Jessie Moore of Australia. He will open the final and try to pressurise the rest of the pack, including Nazar Cheperny, the Ukrainian, who was the 2nd best in the preliminary stage. Hope you're enjoying all of the action so far. It's a real pleasure to have your company at the Aspire Dome in Doha as these athletes aspire for a place on the podium, and he aspires for his first World Cup honours. And he's right to aspire for that, Jessie Moore. He's right to be ambitious because he's an excellent prospect. Quite a few youngsters in this field. James Hall is the elder statesman, despite still not being 30 years of age. Always worth restating as we're just into a new code of points now, that for men, all of the exercises that previously required 10 counting skills are down to 8. So routines have been shortened in terms of difficulty, sometimes in the time actually allowed. The idea being that the routines, particularly on floor, should not be a race to the finish, shouldn't be a series of almost sprinted tumbling passes. And it means that certain skills will fall in and out of favour. Skill selection in gymnastics, as I'm sure many of you know, is dictated by the award that is given to those skills in the code of points, and sometimes adjustments are made where certain skills lose some of their difficulty value and are, as it's often called, downgraded, and some are upgraded. That sort of thing has happened with the Wendeschwings, the circles performed on the pommel horse. It might well be we're going to see a lot more triple back somersaults on the horizontal bar. All rather interesting. Lots to be ironed out in the wash as we go through the first full year of this code of points. Jessie Moore of Australia, the all-around champion of a continent, and the top qualifier here. Up into his first handstand. Tidy there too. Nice geometry so far. Oh, that was smooth. Good Diamondov. Oh dear, that was just pretty as a picture. What a lovely start from young Jessie Moore. He had a very good execution score in qualifying, 8.833. That is essential because there are a couple of others to come who've got stronger difficulty. And he really has performed a delightful piece of gymnastics. Very elegant. It's all about good geometry, the parallel bars. Hitting your positions initially rather than taking adjustments, resets, etc. And positionally there, Moore was clear throughout at the first time of asking. How good that will feel after the problems he had in Croatia at the most recent World Cup. Absolutely right. .933 in the preliminary round. Oh, yes. 14.1 for Jessie Moore. He's picked up the 1/10 bonus. The execution's up a little. Cracking start from the Australian. He's really in contention for a medal. He might be in contention to win it. A long way to go and some great gymnasts to come. Matteo Giubellini of Switzerland, the 20-year-old who made his Olympic debut in Paris despite not having competed at the World Championships as a senior. The Swiss have produced some wonderful parallel bars gymnasts over the years. It's a Strong piece for them. He's got very smooth work on this apparatus. His leg form is excellent. He does have quite a bit of adjustment on the landing, Matteo Giubilini, but the interior of the routine had finesse. The great Giubilini name. I'm sure many of you know that his father competed at the Games in Barcelona. There will be a little cost from that landing deduction, or that landing stabilisation, I should say. He looks content with that number, 13.7, and it is an improvement from qualifying. His execution is up, a gain of just over 3/10. Well done to him. Nice young gymnast to watch. To Yehor Perepolkin of Ukraine. He's only 21. Won 2 silver medals at the national championships last year. First time that he's been in a World Cup final. He too is looking poised at the start, does very well there. There was a bit of compression of the arms, and that could so easily have been really problematic. First tip help we've seen of this final. And again, he does just have to push up into handstand, and double pike nicely done to conclude. It will cost those 2 almost moves in 2 halves up into handstand. The first part, the pause, and the second part. But lots that was well delivered. Great experience for him making this final. Again, Ukraine, another of the men's squads that is going to need the next set of gymnasts to come through and step up. So these World Cups will be of great importance. It's always fascinating at the beginning of a new Olympic cycle when you start to think about how the teams might be formed, who's going to slot into which role, which apparatus. That's a really good example of a quick save to minimize deductions as best as possible. He's a little bent in the knees as he pikes. He was 5th in the all-around competition at the National Championships as well. Oh, well done. 13 is well up from qualifying by about 2/3 of a mark. Now we go to the last gymnast in the first half. This is Sam Mustalfi of Great Britain. He really was a pleasure to watch yesterday, taking bronze on floor with a very clean performance. 5th best in qualifying here. He also chooses the iconic tip-elt skill. His teammate James Hall watching on, giving him plenty of encouragement. So much to like about this young gymnast's work. Very good from Sam Mustalfi. I think that the gymnastics world is going to see a lot more of him in the next few years. He's got through his undergraduate studies. He was a sports scholar at the University of Nottingham. It's a difficult institution to gain admission to. One of the finest in the country. That part of his life is now concluded. His focus is completely on elite level gymnastics and the Olympiad. And he is going to really want to impose himself upon the national selectors. He's going to be going full steam ahead to prove that there's a place for him in the teams. And that's why performances like this at World Cup level are so important. Picking up scores on an international stage is a very different matter from doing it at your national championships. That's not to demean a national championship, it's just different. All gymnasts will say that. .233. He doesn't have huge difficulty, but it was a very clear performance from an execution perspective, and that puts him into 2nd place at the halfway stage. the final warm-ups being concluded in the second half of this men's parallel bars final. We'll get the action restarted any moment now with James Hall. What a place to begin, or to reacquaint ourselves with the parallel bars with one of the most experienced British gymnasts out there. There's Art Cipponi assisting in the preparations. Taking his time to make sure everything is just so. He's got the experience to know how important that is. James Hall from Great Britain, an Olympian, a hugely successful gymnast with world and European honours. Oh, he's done amazingly to rescue that. Wow. Incredible save. Again, just slightly overarched. Oh, that was a very good dismount. He was a touch low, but he sprung back up with years of experience evident in that performance. It's wonderful to see James Hall back in competition. We so seldom get to see him at World Cups. He did a lot of the old all-around at World Cups back in the day. He won a bronze medal in Milwaukee in 2020. He's only won one apparatus World Cup medal. That was a silver on floor in Varna in Bulgaria in 2015. But he's won so much at the top level, continentally and at world level. In qualification, he performed an uprise straddle salto with a half turn. One of the most amazing moments was how he saved the arch of the back. As we look at the straddle salto there. But as I was saying, that incredible overarch, I mean, something that feels appropriate to mention because the European Championships of Acrobatic Gymnastics are going on right as we speak. And that sort of static hold is very common in acrobatic gymnastics. It's far from desirable in artistic gymnastics, and he saved it and brought it back to a regular handstand incredibly well. I mean, I think 99 out of 100 gymnasts would be off the apparatus there. Spotted enjoying your crisps. Well, whoever you're supporting, great to have your company wherever in the world you call home for the Doha World Cup of Artistic Gymnastics. Cairo is the final stop in the World Cup tour, and that's coming up next week. Then we're into World Challenge Cup season. Varna and Koper in May. June is Tashkent. Also a lot of the continental championships happening around that sort of time. Paris and Sombate in September, and then it's destination Jakarta for the World Championships in October. Looking forward to it. I'm sure you are too. James Hall, 12.866. Quite a few execution deductions, but his difficulty's way up from qualifying. We have now the gymnast who was second in qualifying, Nazar Ciperni, with a score of 13.9. He was very close to Jesse Moore in qualification, but Moore has pulled away at the start of this final with a 14.1. So let's see how Ciperni responds. He won a silver medal on the parallel bars in the first World Cup of the season in Cottbus. Good handstand on the single rail. Very nice geometry. Cleanliness. Skills being delivered and hit first time of asking. First Bavzar, I think, that we've seen in this final. And his dismount requires minimal adjustment for stability. Execution in qualifying was a score of 8.3 for Nazar Ciperni. Very competitive display, this. Very pleased with that, and he should be. 14.166. Nazar Ciperni with higher difficulty than Jesse Moore of around about half a mark goes into the gold medal position. 2 remain. It is Ciperni, then Moore, and Matteo Giubellini currently third. Altan Doğan of Turkey, the 4th best performer in qualifying with a score of 13.266. Just 19. He's from the Konak district of Izmir, like so many of the leading national team gymnasts. Nice height on his straddle front somersault. Smooth looking Bavzar as well. Lots of calm and assured work here. And a nice dismount with a small diagonal back step from Altandoan. A few years ago, he was the junior Balkan all-around champion, won it in Istanbul. And some of you may remember him from the parallel bars final at the Varna World Challenge Cup last year. Also made the final in Baku this year, finishing 6th as he did in Bulgaria. Lots of cleanliness. Difficulty is a little contrast to the likes of Ciperni. But you would always expect a young gymnast to be working to bolster difficulty rather than to be overperforming. Nothing worse than seeing skills that lack safety, that lack precision. Far better to see excellent rudiments. One more gymnast to go. And then we will have clarity on the podium. Very good effort, 13.6, a gain of over 3/10 from qualification for Altandoan. He's in 4th place. Kevin George Buckley from Slovenia, the 6th best in qualifying with a score of 12.8. This was the lowest qualifying difficulty score for the final, but it was performed with a degree of crispness that assured his place in the top 8. Very much the way that he went about winning the silver medal on rings at the Osijek World Challenge Cup last year. And it remains a clean and crisp display here. Oh, unfortunate. He was so nearly there. That was lovely to watch until the very last moments where, regrettably, he was only a fraction away from what would have been a super dismount. He's a gymnast whose progress has been great of late. Still only 20. Father is from Ireland, his mother from Slovenia. Parents met in Slovenia and he was born and raised there, but every Christmas he goes back to Ireland. So feels a very strong connection to both nations, but very much raised in Slovenia. So for him it was an easy decision as to which country to represent. Almost. The last score is about to come in. Then we'll be moving back to the women's competition and the floor final. .166, the score for Kevin George Buckley, indicative of how high that score might have been when you consider that he lost a full mark at the conclusion, because that was only about 3/4 down from the preliminary round. Classified results to come, and a narrow victory for Nazar Chipurni. The classified results in the men's parallel bars competition. The bronze medal was won by Matteo Giubellini of Switzerland. Silver won by Jesse Moore of Australia for his first World Cup honours, just like Matteo Giubellini. And Nazar Chipurni of Ukraine winning the gold medal by a fraction over Jesse Moore. It was going to have to be very good to beat the Australian, and it was. The victory ceremony for the men's parallel bars competition.
Third place and winner of the bronze medal, Matteo Giubellini of Switzerland.
Winning the bronze medal, Switzerland's Matteo Giubellini for the first time on a World Cup podium.
Second place and winner of the silver medal, Jesse Moore of Australia.
Huge congratulations also to another gymnast who appears on a World Cup podium for the first time, Jesse Moore of Australia. He improved upon his qualification performance too.
And the champion and the winner of the gold medal, Nazar Chipurni of Ukraine.
It was such a close final, such a great contest between Moore and Chipurni, but by virtue of higher difficulty, Chipurni was able to win it by a matter of hundredths. He won the silver medal on the parallel bars at the Cottbus World Cup, his first competition since the Olympic Games. Now he wins a parallel bars title in Doha.
For the singing of the national anthem of Ukraine. We would like to request our officials to join our medalists for a photo opportunity.
The medalists in the men's parallel bars competition at the Aspire Dome and the Doha World Cup.
The Super Team for Artistic Gymnastics World